Welcome to Thinking Deeper by 6-7. For what feels like forever, the biggest argument out there has been God versus atheism. Believer, non-believer. You're on one team or the other. But what if that whole debate is just a distraction? What if the power we call God isn't some being up in the sky, but a force we create ourselves, right here on the ground? Today, we're diving into a really wild theory from the sociologist Émile Durkheim. It suggests that religion isn't about believing in God at all, but about worshiping ourselves, our own society. It's an idea that might just change how you see faith, morality, and even what holds us together. You know, we're just so used to thinking about it this way. You either believe in a supernatural God, or you don't. That's it. Those are the two options. But Durkheim came along and said, hold on, everybody's looking at the wrong thing. He thought the real question isn't whether God exists, but what religion actually is and what it does for us. And to figure that out, we have to look past the idea of gods altogether.
And to get his point across, first, we have to kind of break down a huge assumption that religion even needs a god to begin with. I mean, think about it. Durkheim pointed out that some of the biggest religions in the world are basically atheistic. Take Buddhism, for example. In its original form, it's all about a path to enlightenment that has nothing to do with a creator god. Same goes for Jainism. So right there, that proves a god isn't the essential ingredient. So if it's not gods, what's it all about then?
Okay, so this is where Durkheim really starts his detective work. He argued that to truly understand religion, you have to find the one thing that all religions have in common. I mean, all of them, from the biggest world faiths to the smallest tribal beliefs. And that one thing, it isn't a god. It's a way of splitting the entire world in two.
For Durkheim, this is the absolute core of all religion. This division of reality into two totally separate, almost hostile zones. On one side, you've got the profane. That's just our normal, boring, everyday life. Work, chores, paying bills. And on the other side, you have the sacred. These are things that are set apart, special, protected by all sorts of rules and taboos. Things that inspire awe. This split, he said, is even more fundamental than good versus evil. The sacred and the profane are like two different universes that can't touch without something big happening.
Now, before he could lay out his own mind-blowing theory, Durkheim had to do a bit of house cleaning. He had to take on the two most popular explanations for where religion came from back in his day and show why they just didn't quite cut it. So the first theory was called animism. The idea here was that religion started with dreams. Early humans would dream about being in faraway places, or they'd see relatives who had passed away. And this led them to believe in a spirit or a soul that could leave the body. And from there, they just started seeing souls in everything. The other big theory was naturalism. This one argued that religion came from feeling totally awestruck by the big forces of nature. You know, the sun, a crazy thunderstorm. Both pretty good guesses, but for Durkheim, neither one really explained that fundamental split between the sacred and the profane. By the way, if you're enjoying this deep dive into these big ideas and you want to help us keep digging into more stuff like this, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button and give this a like. It really does make a huge difference. Okay, let's get back to Durkheim's puzzle. All right, so after knocking down the old theories, Durkheim set up his own game plan. To find the true source of religion, he said, we need to study it in its simplest, most elementary form. And he believed he found the perfect case study in the religious life of Australian Aboriginal clans, a system called totemism. So what in the world is totemism? Well, it's a system where a whole group, a clan, identifies with a specific thing, usually an animal or a plant. So you might have the kangaroo clan or the caterpillar clan. But this totem isn't just some mascot. No way. It's the clan's name, it's their emblem, and it is the most sacred thing in their universe. And this is where things get really, really weird. Durkheim found this strange ranking of what was considered sacred. You'd think the sacred animal itself, the actual kangaroo, would be number one, right? Wrong. It's actually the least sacred of the three. More sacred than the animal are the people in the clan. But the most sacred thing of all, it's the emblem, a drawing of the totem, maybe carved into a piece of wood. The symbol is more sacred than the actual thing it represents. This is the key question that unlocks everything. It doesn't make any sense at first. Why would a picture of a kangaroo be more holy than an actual kangaroo? Why would the clan's flag, basically, be more sacred than the god itself? This little puzzle is exactly what Durkheim needed to crack the whole case. And the answer to that question, well, it's the grand finale of Durkheim's entire argument. And it's an idea that completely turns our understanding of religion on its head.
Durkheim realized the totem symbol was doing double duty. Yeah, it's the symbol of their god or their sacred principle, but it's also something else just as important. It's the symbol of the clan itself. It's their coat of arms, their flag. It literally represents the group. So the emblem stands for both the divine and for the society at the exact same time. And that's the light bulb moment. If the exact same image represents the god and the society, then maybe, just maybe, the god and the society are the same thing. And that was Durkheim's incredible conclusion. The sacred power the clan is worshiping isn't some spirit out there. It's the power of the clan itself, just projected onto a symbol. When they gather to worship the totem, they are, without even knowing it, worshiping their own society. And when you stop and think about it, it kind of makes sense, right? Society is a force much bigger than any one of us. It tells us what to do, it makes us sacrifice for the greater good, it was here long before we were born, and it'll be here long after we're gone. Durkheim argued that this immense power that society has over us, that is the feeling we call divine. So where does this powerful religious feeling come from? Durkheim had a great term for it: collective effervescence. It's what happens when a group comes together for intense rituals. Everyone's chanting, dancing, focused on the same sacred thing. An incredible, almost electric energy builds up. Individuals stop feeling like individuals and feel like they're part of something huge, something that lifts them up. For Durkheim, that feeling is the religious experience. It's the moment the group literally feels its own power. Okay, so a century-old theory about Australian clans. What does any of this have to do with us today in our modern world? Well, it turns out everything. The implications of this are massive and go way beyond what we normally call religion. So let's just wrap up the main takeaways. First, for Durkheim, religion isn't a mistake. That power people feel, it's 100% real. It's just coming from the group, not from God. Second, this means the sacred isn't a fixed thing. It's something we create anytime we come together with a shared passion. In fact, he argued our deepest morals, our laws, even how we think about time and space, all of it grew out of the rhythm of these ancient sacred rituals. And here's the kicker: that process never, ever stopped. And that leads us to one last really challenging question. If Durkheim's right, and we're constantly creating our own secret things, then our supposedly secular world is actually full of them. We have sacred symbols, flags, brand logos, political ideas that we treat with reverence. We have rituals, concerts, sporting events, protests that create that same collective effervescence. So the question his theory leaves us with is this: what are the sacred things our society is creating right now, and what does it mean that we are choosing to worship them?